Good morning and welcome back to Ecocentric. Guess we got our first frost. It's been quite humid and it got down to minus 0.6 last night. And everything was soaking wet, so you don't really see much, but if you look up close you can see that all the moisture is frozen on to anything that could cool down. There was one squash left and I've got it covered up with a cloth. I'm waiting, it's still below the freezing mark, and this is how I covered up those potatoes that I said I was going to protect from the first couple of frost. So when it warms up a bit, I'll come back out and we'll do a walkabout and take the things off my frost protection off here. Okay, it's later in the day now and things are thawed out, so we can do a walkabout. I went around and there's some loose vegetation that I cleaned up and put on the beds. Earlier, don't remember how long ago it was now, but I went through and I picked all the grapes that I could easily get at. That was fully leaved out then, but I picked what I could get at, and I got that blue bowl full of grapes, and now I can see the ones that I've missed, so I can go and get those now. That won't be near as many as what I got the first time. The temperature got down to minus 0.6. I think I already said that, Celsius. But along by this wall, now this is the warmer place. This didn't get down below zero, and the tomatoes plants are still doing fine. And even this squash plant here, still putting out flowers, eh? It's not going to produce anything now. And along here, there's no sign of any frost damage. Here's this zucchini plant. So the bugs didn't come back and chew on this tree again. Just a little bit of a few signs of holes. So hopefully now that all comes back well and is healthy next year. I took these tomato plants that I took out when I was doing the tomato harvest, and I put them back here, but they don't die back right away. They touch in the ground and they'll get their nutrients. And while it's not as cold as the other parts of the garden, you can see these leaves are kind of turning black. And it's all that way along here. This may not have gotten, there's a tomato. May have not gotten down to freezing, but it got pretty close. Once again out here you can see that that squash plant, the leaves are slightly turning black. But it's warmer down here by the front fence than it is up in the main garden. This squash plant, it was dying back before anyway. And you see here's the tomato plant, was unhurt. What's interesting along here, remember we put that fairly thick layer of meadow clippings down, and you can see how it's really composting down. And I'll show you more when we get up to the potatoes. But this is the ideal. This is kind of composting in place now, right? This grapevine, well, I just show you the other grapevine, and This one seems to have his leaves greener and holding on to them more. It was quite windy there a couple of days ago and blowing here, so if those leaves had been loose, they would have blew right off because there was quite a strong wind blowing in there. I'm pretty sure they have some production, those potatoes in there. But I'll take them up now when I'm done harvesting the other ones. Romeo cherry and Gillette cherry, they're one of the last bushes to lose their leaves anyway. This one is started. Maple tree, all leaves are turning and falling, so when I get the lawnmower out now, all this stuff out here, this will be easy to suck up and be partially chipped. Some water is being held back here. You can see where it's been wet lately. It's deeper now, but during the summer it was down more than I expected. I think in front of that dam I'm going to put a stack of sods up there, and that might hold the water back more, and this might stay full then during the entire summer. We'll find out. Gotta do something about that in the spring. Whether or not I take up the loose soil, put down some more cardboard, and then put the soil back on top of it. We'll find out, but that's one of the no-dig beds. Jerusalem artichoke. A couple of them did start to put on a flower bud, but no flowers. And I don't think that matters to the tubers anyway. And, well, once I get everything else harvested, then I'll come back and I'll see what I can get out of the Jerusalem artichoke. Here's the other maple tree, turning. The aspen, the leaves are just barely clinging on, so in that wind most of the leaves had gotten blown off. Leaves have been falling off the currant bushes, and with that wind it's pretty much all gone now. And now I'll take off this cover on these potatoes here. So this is what I got. I got a row of these frames holding down that turf. Last night was the second night that I did this. There was the night a few weeks ago that I put this turf over. So I'll leave the turf right there in case I want to do it again. Now see, I have this row laid across here. Because the potatoes wouldn't up high enough, I could just lay the thing down, put the tarp over it, and then lay another row on top, right? I'll see, there's another week before they're threatening another frost, I think. Some of the potatoes seem to be starting to fade, just slightly, so I don't know much longer they're going to stay up anyway. Just call it day by day. If they're still like this when it's threatening frost, I think I'll keep putting that tarp back on. Now I mentioned the aspen with their leaves gone because if you can see that stick well on the screen there now, that's the red mulberry. They lose their leaves early as well. So they were yellow last time I showed you, I think, and now with the wind came in and just blew them all off. This one gets more protected from that bush. I think that's why it's kind of greener. But even here, you see, so down the other side. Well, another thing, the first currant bush basically got his roots in wet soil year round, whereas it's a little drier up here. So that might be why they're more hanging onto their leaves. And the gooseberries, they turn colour and lose their leaves earlier than the currants do. This thing, I can't remember how high these are supposed to go now, but I think that's pretty much full size. And it didn't take it very long to get there once I started dealing with it. I had it down there, a little tiny plant, for like 3 years, and it wasn't growing. And then I started to take care of it, and it just shot right up. So whether it was my care or is that just coincidence, I don't know. I have 3 of these now, and this is the one that loses its leaves first. That's the Myroblan cherry plum. So now up here, you kind of see even the leaves on the stinging nettles are a little darker, eh? But once it warmed up, the green leaves on all the squash that was left alive, they all died back. So everything is dead here now of the squash plants. And then this is one of the things, the red potato plants in this bed, they were just perfectly green. They were no time going to die anytime soon. But now after they thawed out, kind of spotty, eh? But that's where, see, it's just all gone limp. There's still some green leaves on there, so I don't know. You'll see over a couple of days, because they won't be getting harvested today, but those stalks might all just die now. This bed was dying back anyway. Once again, I've got to figure out how I'm going to deal with the weeds that's coming up through. That's another no-dig bed. So, like I said, about 2/3 of that bed was dying back, and now the rest of it, of course, has got touched with the freezing weather last night. It's not as bad as if it was a real frost, because everything was soaking wet. So it kind of got a sheen of ice over everything. Before we go there, I've taken a lot of apples from this tree. I found a way to make apple preserves, put them in 500 ml bottles. About 3 big apples actually fits in a 500 ml bottle once you got them cut up. But it's a really great preserve to, you take out a bottle and have fruit over the winter, right? Rather than trying to preserve them as the old apple, which really doesn't work very well in my experience. Now there's still some apples up there. I don't know how many more will fall off, and whether I want to do more preserves. I know I've got a 5-gallon bucket in the house now, and by that time I'll have enough to have a bottle of apple preserves once a week for a full year. So the only thing I think this looks like it's got touched by the cold is the echinacea leaves there. Seems like everything else in the herb garden, I weeded out this, see, so it doesn't look so much like a mess, and cut down the lovage. This one over here, now this one looks like a mess anyway, because it's got the self-seeded catmint and parsley all through it, right? So that's going to look weedy anyway. I took the hedge trimmer and trimmed that lavender like that. Now, so remember, see, I take the bed and I go and I get metal clippings and I just bury the beds for the winter, like so. But over the summer, And this is, I gotta remember, I keep forgetting, see. I put on about 4 inches of mulch on this bed, and now it's down to pretty much nothing. I have to keep reapplying the mulch to potatoes because, well, see, now I don't know how much of that potato I'll lose. I'll find out when I go and peel it, but the green is only oxalic acid. Like, you'd have to heat an awful lot of that to get sick, but it does affect the quality of the potato, and so you cut most of it away. Cut all of it away that you see, right? And then just use the white stuff that's still white. But what I'm saying is that 3 or 4 inches of mulch that I put on this back in middle of June or whenever it was, that's all basically composted away. And that's what happens with every potato bed. So you have to keep reapplying it doing this way. That's its pros and cons. If you bury them deep, you won't get the potatoes near the surface. But then it's hard to dig them. If you do the mulch with metal clippings, you have to keep reapplying the mulch over the summer. But with the metal clippings, you're having compost in place. So, in my opinion, the metal clippings is still better. It's just one of those things you're doing through the summer. You reapply the metal clippings 3 or 4 times. See, I dug the one bed of Kennebec, and I have 3 more here to do now, so I'm going to do this. Hopefully I'll do them all today, but we shall see. Of course, that bed's already taken up. You already know about that when I done the bean harvest. The rutabaga, they're not going here next year. What's going here is cabbage and kale. And kale's not going to get hurt by frost, no way, no how. What's interesting here, you see, you remember the head that I cut down there? It grew up several pieces around already. That one over there, that's the one with the had the strongest head on it. It's got 1 piece growing up. This one was a very loose head, and it's got that growing up on it after I cut it down. And this one, you see? So that's what I mean by them growing back. Now, it's a guess as I go through the years I'll find out, but I'm thinking that if you do this really late in the fall when it's cold, that they won't start this until the next year. And then you get those several sprouts grow out. That'll give you a little head of cabbage on the end. And if you harvest it before it splits to go to flower, then you'd have several little heads of cabbage in the second year, right? See, over the different trials, I'm finding that it's better to put your rutabaga out in full sun, and the rutabaga is doing very well for me this year. And I think I'll get enough rutabaga. The beets, once again, they done very well. But now, this is that flower plant for Brussels sprouts. So I want to talk about this because if you decide to let one of those grow, it grows into a fairly big plant. Now, all of this new growth, that would be very soft. You can take that in and cut up that stem for a stir fry. All of these leaves, it's basically the same as cabbage leaves, so you can use that as a replacement for cabbage. You can eat these flowers just the same as you eat broccoli. So, like this one here, this entire stem here, I could take, chop it all up, throw it in a stir fry. Now when you get to the older stems, they'll be gone really fibrous, so they won't be any good. That's a fairly large plant for something, once again, that I just, okay, do your thing, and ignored it. Pretty much all I got out of the strawberries this year was just some snacks. But that is because last year I redid both beds. Next year now I should get quite a number of strawberries from here. This is very impressive, eh? And look how much lettuce grew there over, oh, this is since, it was past the middle of August I put these here. I didn't sow them direct seed, they were transplants from over on the other side, but yeah, they grew really nicely. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to, well, I'll take up those grasses and that's growing in there, but I'm going to leave the lettuce there, and I'm going to plant the garlic in that bed like I would normally, and then over the winter those lettuce plants will die, and in the spring the garlic will grow up there. I don't have to, they'll just die and decompose right there on that bed, right? Of course the Jacob's cattle, you know that's dug up. This head of flower seeds, I don't know, it looks kind of funny. You see this one? It looks better. Nice and tan colored seeds on it. And the bottom part is drying out. So I'll get some seeds out of that. That one's kind of black too, I don't know why. These are going tan. There's some down here. See, this is a nice one that's a long ways along. Right there. But that plant is late. So I'll get some seeds out of it. Underneath where the tomato, volunteer tomatoes growing, carrots didn't grow very much. Now this is why I got the space left open, because just wanted to put this on here. This is one of the ones that was underneath it. Nice carrot. So I'll come back and get those. There's a lot of vegetation underneath the carrot vegetation. It looks like underneath the where the squash was, as opposed to where the tomatoes was. There's very little, right? So when I come back out to get those, I'm going to pull up this. So this was green too, quite alive as of yesterday, and then last night it just, well, it froze, and so now there it's gone dead. So I'll take up the squash vegetation and see what's there in carrots, and if there's no big carrots I'll leave them there, and a little while later when I get everything else harvested, of course I have to take them up, because the next thing I'll have carrots growing up for seed plants if I don't. And I don't really want them to do that. You see, remember, it was only about half that size when I was doing the squash harvest, so it grew more. And I'll take that in now. It's definitely not going to grow anymore now. Kind of a pity. The wind came through and it blew all the cosmos over. I do have a picture though. Just a few days ago, where this was all standing up, and it was a nice beautiful display of cosmos across there, eh? And the flower got frozen last night. Weeded out this onion bed so you can see the onions now, some really big onions. And they were, well, they're still growing. They did get whipped around with the wind, the ones that were standing up, because most of the Elsa Craig and Kelsey, they were still standing up. So I'll harvest those after. Some of this is Kelsey, I think, but both of them, Elsa Craig and Kelsey, were starting to fold over and come to their end. So once I get the potatoes dug, I'll just take all of these up. Yeah, 170, well, I took a few up, so it should be about 174 onions there now. That was another traditional walkabout. I just go around the garden and I size up what has happened over the past day, and if there's anything I need to attend to right away. And you've got my thoughts on the garden today. Hope you enjoyed a little walkabout with me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.